Carrie's got a mic ready to go. Thank you. Call me to order. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much, and welcome to Lindsborg City Council meeting for January the 18th. Public input tonight? Seeing none, is there any amendments to the agenda, council members? Seeing none, I'll move on to mayor's report. I really have three topics. One is Government Day on the 27th. For those council members that are going, please remember, make those arrangements. I think they've been made. Do you need confirmation on that or anything, Greg?
No, and then in front of you is the, for those that are attending, is the schedule. Leaving here from City Hall at 8:45 on the 27th.
Lunch with the oven?
Yeah. No.
All right, thank you all for going and expressing and carrying forward the word of Lindsborg's council, and we'll be talking about later there. Mayor's prayer breakfast is on Thursday, this Thursday at 6:45. You're all welcome to join at Messiah Church, be a part of the mayor's prayer breakfast that day. And then moving forward together that night at 5:30, and that'll be in the Sunstrom. So look forward to seeing everybody there at that time. City of Lindsborg did receive an award last Friday. The award, 2015 Municipal Concrete Award, presented to the City of Lindsborg for the downtown streetscape improvements, presented by Kansas Ready Mixed Concrete Association, with a nice picture of our City Hall on the front. I think the downtown project's been a great project. It's right up there with the trail and the North Park project that we did. I don't know the name of it. I want to say Thor's Revenge, but I knew that was Viking Valley and that. And so I continue to hear good points of downtown, and again, the appreciation of the ad hocers and everybody that was involved in making that such a success. Again, that goes back to a team effort and really appreciated by all of those involved in that. So let's move on to the consent agenda.
Motion to adopt.
Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded on the consent agenda. Roll call, please.
Kelly? Yes. Betty? Yes. Blaine?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Emil?
Yes.
Becky? Yes.
Consent agenda carried. Planning and zoning, I don't show
There's no items.
no items for that. Old business, none. So we're going to go to new business, starting with the CBB advertising in the Lawrence Journal World. Holly?
The CBP staff has looked over what we would like to do in the upcoming year, 2016, and this year for marketing. And one of the things that, after talking with the board, we felt like was a good idea was to begin to expand our marketing territory a little bit. We know that Lawrence is a good market for our arts community in particular, and we felt like this is a good market for us to start with. And so we would like to do online ads with them only, and targeting both of their two of their three online sources. We would be utilizing the LawrenceJournalWorld.com and then also Lawrence.com. LJW has a bigger readership, but it's less engaged readers. So the Lawrence.com has more engagement. So we wanted to add that component in as well. They'll let us mix those together, and I found out last week, so we don't have to pay for both of those individually. We can mix those together as a combination. They put this together in a 3-month plan, and I'd like to do 6 months worth of these ads. We would be looking at 100,000 impressions minimum every 3 months. And we're looking at a cost of $1,400 to do a 6-month plan throughout 2016.
Is the 100,000 their estimate, or where's that come from?
That's the numbers that they make sure that it achieves at least that.
And if it doesn't, what happens?
Those are achieved because they force it out that many times
Okay.
on their ads.
Okay.
Before additional questions, what is your desire?
Motion to approve.
Been moved, is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded, additional questions for Holly?
Molly, did they give you any idea of their readership? Is that mainly Douglas County, or does that go to Johnson County and beyond?
Yes, it's outside. He could not give me exact numbers, but he told me that yes, it was.
Is this about, you come out of your budget then? Holly?
Yes, it comes out of transient gas tax budget.
Okay. Additional questions for Holly?
The specs of the ad, do they do it, or?
The ad, and we can set up the ads ourselves, so that would be done within my office, and we are given a certain size it has to be. And I did show you placement of those ads. We have nice placement. It's the right-hand side, very top right-hand down. On both of those sides. And I will be looking at the months of mid-March through mid-July for the first 4 months, and the months of October and November for the final 2 months.
This might be not a fair question to ask, but it says that 30% of the impressions will be mobile. Is that they promise 30% minimum will be mobile? And
That's
there's a good chance that it's higher than that?
That's what their current rates are.
Additional questions? Roll call, please.
Becky? Yes. Emo?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
Blaine?
Yes.
Betty? Yes. Kelly?
Yes.
Item carries. Item B, water slide resurfacing bid.
So it's come time now to resurface our water slide at the city pool. We typically have done this in the past about every 10 years, and the slide is about 20 years old now, I believe. So we've had this done once before already, about 10 years ago. So you'll see the following bids that we had. One is from Aftertech, which is the first company that actually did it for us about 10 years ago, but they've since switched names. And the other company is Splash Tacular, and you'll see there's quite a price difference between the two. But I'm told that Aftertech is very effective and that they did a good job last time.
What is your desire?
Move we approve Aftertech.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions for Kate?
I guess the only question is the scope of work. Apples to apples with that price difference, or is there something?
It's pretty simple. I was kind of compared to, I think, Splash Tacular is kind of like the Starbucks of that industry versus the group we have.
And you did say the first groupers who did it last time, and we've made it 10 years on their work for the last time.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Mhm.
Okay. Additional questions? Roll call, please.
Kelly?
Yes.
Betty? Yes. Blaine?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Emo?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Item carries. Item C is pool painting bid. Kate?
This is pretty similar to the water slide, other than it's the pool floor. We actually have the whole entire pool floor, including the swim lanes, painted in full about 4 years ago. And it's actually held up pretty good shape, but there's just various areas throughout the floor, and especially along the swim lanes, that have just, from normal wear and tear, chipped and even faded just a little bit. So the following bid you'll see is for just someone to come in and they'll basically just power wash the entire floor in the area, which will probably bring up even more kind of chipped areas as they're doing that, but then they'll just kind of sand it over, patch up the little chips that are throughout the floor, and then repaint the swim lanes and then other areas that need to be repainted.
What is your desire?
Motion to approve.
Any amount?
$2,875 to...
Hartwood?
Yes,
Fingers.
that one.
Hardwood painting. What is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Questions, please.
My question would be, when the whole pool then needs to be repainted, are they be repainting over what we've improved, or will they just do the sides? And then do we get on we're doing the floor this year, and we're doing the sides a year later?
It'll really kind of depend on, I mean, they have to look at it each year, depending on what year we decide to do that. They just have to relook at it and figure out from there the scope of work that would actually be needed to be done. When you're doing patchwork and stuff like this, it's easier to just go over what's already there and existing. But when you do the whole entire surface, and that's when they talk about, completely chipping it out and putting an entire new surface on it.
How long is it the entire, how long has it been since the entire pool has been?
I believe it was close to 4 years ago.
It was in 2012.
Okay.
And what is the expected lifespan of the big job, when you paint the whole pool? How long do you like to see that last?
You recall it 5 years?
5 years.
So this is a touch up at 3, and then in another couple of years, we're going to end up doing the full service again. Are we having any kind of, our old pool got the leaking so bad that this is, when you say chips and that, it's not leaking out of the pool. It's
No, there's just a
surface
constant
problems.
combination of just the pool water being in there, and then when the water's not in there, just moisture and it's actually underneath it, and it just kind of gradually seeps up, especially when the water is no longer in there.
Okay.
So,
Additional questions?
This isn't about that, but it's just a question about the pool area. When we made a visit to the pool, when did we do that? Summer, spring?
Some cool night, that's
So-
American.
yeah.
It's a little warm that night. Question?
But down at the west end, we were looking at the
Building structure.
yeah, and all that, the wood and stuff. I mean, is there a plan?
Yeah, we're just, right now, just getting bids for that and kind of just researching and brainstorming ideas for what we could do with that. If anything, short term, it would be just fixing what's currently there, that was short term, and then from there figuring out what to do after that.
Is that the storage shed?
It's probably one of the
Oh, it's that seating that.
Because the seating area kind of down the water slide,
safety.
that's wood.
This
Okay.
shade and
The shade structure.
So that is on work, you're looking at that right now, we're bringing some forward, some ideas for that, okay?
I mean, there was a little bit of savings here, $2,000 or something like that.
Yes, so we should definitely burn on that.
All right, okay, thank you.
Roll call, please.
Becky? Yes. Emo?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
Wayne?
Yes.
Betty? Yes. Kelly?
Yes.
Thank you, Katie. Item D, LED street lighting, if we're going to step forward, these are 250 watt lights. Tim, give us a brief scenario and we'll see what your desire is.
This is replace the remaining 15 250 watt bulbs that we have in town. We are planning on the annual replacement program to get rid of all of our HPS lighting. These are the expensive ones, but they pay off pretty well. As you can see, it's about $46 a year energy savings on them, so we'll see about a 5.5 year payout to pay for the new lights. Next year we would start in on 100 watt.
What is your desire?
I make the motion that we approve 15 LED lighting fixtures from Chris Davis for the amount of $3,780 plus tax.
It's been moved, is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, discussion items for Tim?
Is that $46 total per year or per fixture?
I have a quick question. What's the estimated life expectancy on these?
We ordered what we, they're pretty high. I'd say, over 20 years.
Do they have any kind of warranty on them?
Yeah, I think that would trigger.
Okay.
I don't honestly know that answer.
Tim, I know you said, and then next year starting replacing the 100 watts this year as we go through, and you change out lights as you go. You do start doing the LEDs on those change outs, and then go to a
Yeah, if we buy.
mass. If you have to buy any this year, you're going to be buying LED, and then
Correct.
look towards a mass replacement of so many numbers in the following years. So
Correct.
but you're going LED now from now forward.
Yes. It's, the cost difference is about $70 for an HPS head and $115 for LED, but that's
The
really.
savings are.
Yeah, the money you'll save, it'll pay us to do it.
Where are these 250 watt lights located?
Mostly on South Main, on down,
Okay.
Is this the first group of 250 watt ones you replaced?
no, we did the Harrison Cole last year, and then,
High
the
school.
first year, K4.
Do you see the price coming down at all on
Yes.
LED now compared to? Okay.
What is the wattage in the average neighborhood residential?
100.
That's 100.
And what we'll replace with is 100 watt equivalent.
Is this cool lighting or bright lighting?
So, on the estimate, it has some other things on the order. And what's going on with those?
Those are something else that we're interested in, we're still researching that, and that's an item we will probably bring to you, on February 1st council meeting.
Additional questions? Roll call, please.
Kelly? Yes. Betty? Yes. Lane?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Emo?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Item carries. Let's go to item E. It's Viking to Sweden Scholarship. I'll call upon Greg to work us through that.
As discussed in a study session, the idea of a scholarship for Smoky Valley High School students or former high school students to attend Bethany College, provide an incentive of a scholarship. What is proposed is 5 $2,000 scholarships with an option for renewal. So the annual cost would be $10,000. The idea would be to name it a Viking to Swede Scholarship. And with that,
What is your desire?
And
Hold on, please. What is your desire on the Viking to Sweden Scholarship?
move we approve.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Now ask your question, Becky.
Okay, when you said renewal until you, for 1 year, or is that stipulated, or?
well, the reason I said option for renewal is under cash basis law, we can't commit the dollars for the next year. But so if the idea that this is approved, what we would do is budget or propose to budget $10,000 for 2017 so that those students that received the first year of this scholarship would have the option to renew, providing they met the basic criteria as outlined in the program.
I'm disappointed that there's not something there that says it's a city scholarship.
It says Viking to Swede Scholarship, sponsored by the City of Lindsborg and the Sesquicentennial Committee. Very
Say that word.
Sesquicentennial. I was on the committee for about 3 months.
Thank you.
Just long enough to learn how to say it.
In the study session, we also discussed other funding options, but the original option or suggestion was that $10,000 would be deferred from the Sesquicentennial Committee to this.
Yes.
So the first year of funding to the Sesquicentennial was in what fiscal year, what year?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Are we in the third year of
I
that?
think this is the
Yeah.
third year.
I think this is it.
Okay, thank you.
Additional questions on the Viking to Swede Scholarship sponsored by the City of Lindsborg and the Sesquicentennial Committee?
Has other money been pulled out of the Sesquicentennial Fund previously to
You just
this?
don't like saying it, don't you?
How can I work this into a question?
I wonder if Jerry abbreviates it. Do you write that out every time I say it, or do you abbreviate it?
1-5, spell 1-5.
He puts 1-5 OVA.
Okay, good.
To answer your question, no, there has not been.
Okay. And it's fully funded to this point every year? We've added what we pledged to?
Well, it's been budgeted every year. Nothing's, I think one year we spent a couple $100, if that. So, you know, it hasn't been expended at all.
I was just making sure we weren't robbing it blind or anything.
A question about comment. I think almost as long as Lindsborg's been around, having Bethany College be an integral part of our community, celebrating the sesquicentennial in this way, it makes a lot of, I think it makes a lot of sense. Great idea, whoever came up with this idea.
God.
I think I agree too. I think the scholarship idea is a great idea, and it's a way for us to support Bethany and support Lindsborg residents, you know, Vikings and that. And so it's, look forward to a vote on this and bringing it forward for the community. So are there any additional questions on the Viking to Swede scholarship sponsored by the City of Lindsborg and the Sesquicentennial Committee?
If the deadline says here is April 1 for application, okay? So I know that the high school has that awards thing. It's kind of changed, I think, a little bit.
April 23rd.
April 23rd, so.
Yes.
So that could be
Yes,
awarded.
and that's the discussion I had with the high school is that actual presentation could be made at that award ceremony. Yes,
Because that was-
awards banquet, I should
Awards
say.
banquet, that's what
Be
it
held
is.
at the Sunspur Building.
Yes.
Good. Well, roll call, please.
Becky?
Yes.
Emil?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Corey?
I also serve on the Bethany College Board of Directors, so to avoid any perceived conflict of interest, I'm going to abstain on this.
Let's see, Blaine?
Yes.
Betty? Yes. Kelly?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you all very much. Let's move on to the next one, item F, Bethany College debt forgiveness. I will call upon Greg to also brief us on what we're looking at here.
In 2009, the city completed the final circuit of the electric upgrade. The area that the final circuit was in included the area that serves Bethany College. At that time, Bethany requested that some of the upgrade items that had been running overhead be placed underground. And our policy says that overhead lines remain overhead, underground goes underground, or remains underground, and if there's a request for overhead lines to go underground, then the benefiting party pays the incremental cost difference. Bethany College agreed to that, and instead of making a lump sum payment, we were bonding this project, so we as the city agreed to finance the incremental cost difference of $176,786 over a 15-year time frame. The annual debt service on that is $16,160.72. The outstanding balance right now is $114,346.50, and there's 9 years remaining on the loan. And from study session discussion, the general consensus of the group was to forgive the remaining debt, 9 years of debt of $114,346.50.
That was consensus of the group at the study session. Is there a formal motion tonight? What is your desire?
I move that we forgive the debt of $114,346.50 of Bethany College.
There's a motion to that effect. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to forgive the debt, remaining debt to the college. Further discussion on this topic?
I'd like to restate my objection to this, and that is, I think that it's irresponsible of us to forgive this much money, which has to be made up somewhere, and that will be by other people in the community. I also think, I believe in the saying that if you can't remember the past, you're doomed to relive it. And I think Bethany College has had numerous times when their fiscal policies have been very poor, and to believe that we're just going to move into a brand new era now where it will be fine is foolishness. I'm in favor of the other two options we had, to forgive it for 1 and 2 years, but not this big an amount. So I'll vote no.
I'm going to be jumping in the spirit of point counterpoint and remind everybody that's listening that though $114,000 is without a doubt a large sum of money, I cannot imagine what our community would be like if that campus were to vacate and there were to be nothing down there. I can't imagine what would happen to the property values across the community. I can't imagine what would happen to our business community without Bethany College. So for that reason, I will go into this with the attitude that the pledges Bethany College are making to start to live a new era is true, and that by giving them the opportunity to show to the HLC a reduced debt amount on their balance statement will be very helpful to them move forward.
I have a question, out of curiosity. So we do this. Now, as we go forward and something, let's just say, God forbid, it's Bethany again. Or let's just throw another entity. It's Bethany Home requested something such as this. And then Bethany Home comes and wants us to forgive it. Do we need to start having a different policy where we no longer finance these things and they have to be paid up front instead? Where do we draw a line where we stop financing things that may not be good debts? Has that ever been considered?
I don't know if Greg's going to take a shot at that, or if, from a policy point of view.
Well, Bethany College did not request.
And this isn't a bad debt. I mean, it's not that they were unable to pay it, they've been paying it.
I think Kelly's right. What I hear Kelly saying is they're not requesting us to give them back, or relieve them of the debt, and that it's our way as a city, the package of the Viking to Swede, this package and the next one that we're going to talk about is a way for this council and the city government to show our, I'm thinking of the word, it's not respect, but our encouragement of what's going on, our commitment to the college, and making them that they are a big part of this community and going forward. So to your question, I think if it was Bethany Home or Bill Taylor or David Igby, it's really situational at that point. You have to look at the full package of what whoever's requesting that means to the community at large, going back to Betty's points and others that have made that. And I think it really becomes situational at that point to do that. As far as David is concerned, we all have opinions of how Bethany College got to where they are, through management or whatever that is. But I think today the realities from this day forward and the next year or the next 2 years, it means so much to this community to support them in whatever way we can. And this is our way of saying, and they can go to others then, I think, and take this and say, look, the city's committed, this is what they said. Will you also turn around and let's do these things?
But then, given that situational and it's in relationship to them, could it be contrived that another private entity that is important to the city, let's just pretend we had a big manufacturer that had 80 employees here and they had issues, we would be in the same situation here if there's a manufacturing company privately owned, like a privately owned college?
This is from my perspective only, and I'm not speaking for city council, but looking at it from a business perspective. If that same entity represented 11% of our electric sales, which comes to about $330,000 per year, and that entity were not going to survive or were not going to move forward, that would be a loss of over $3 million over the same 9-year time frame. So from a pure business perspective, do you want to forego $114,000 with the opportunity to continue to get an additional $330,000 a year in revenue, or over double what you're getting, what you're forgiving for a 9-year time frame? Or do you want to take the perspective that we're not going to forgive it and hopefully it won't work out?
What's our profit on that? Because when you speak of $300,000, you're speaking gross revenue. Well, what's our cost of goods sold on that? How much do we actually make off of that $300,000? Do you have any kind of approximation on that?
From a gross profit standpoint, our cost of purchase power and transmission comes to about 67% of the total cost. You know, you add in your labor, distribution expenses, we're making about 8 to 9% on a good year. It all depends on where our peaks of purchase power, because the way our contract is structured. But you know, in a bad year it's going to be 6%, in a good year it's going to be about 9% net.
Let's say it was a great year, that'd be 10%, so that'd be $34,000 a year. We're giving up $34,000 a year profit in order to gain, we're giving that up. We're not giving that up. We're giving up $16,000 to get potentially 34. It's not.
From a pure simple math standpoint, that's correct. But I can convolute this issue is because the capital costs of our purchase power represent 2/3 of that 67%, and we're not going to lose. You know, our energy, the energy that we actually purchase is small compared to our demand charge. You know, we'll pay $30,000 in energy costs in our demand charge, which is essentially to cover our power supplier's capital costs, will be over $200,000. We are not going to drop that precipitously to make up a net. So it would impact the net much greater than what you're saying. I can't put the numbers to it off the top of my head.
It'd be very complicated
Yeah.
to come up with.
It sounds like fixed costs are going to be there one way or the other.
They will be there, not to the extent that they were, but they're not going to drop to the level that would maintain the same net revenue that we're getting now.
And then, of course, since the city's budget is set on what we know as revenue, the question would be what would happen to utility costs across the board to try and balance the budget in future years, because we operate on such a...
Well, the electric rates would need to increase to cover the capital increase.
And that burden will be borne by everyone.
Yes.
And there's probably no way to estimate the loss of sales tax revenue to the city.
Well, I think the multiplier across the board, you know, all the things that happen, sales tax and people that live here and home values, and I mean, there's just a lot of things that go into that. So,
To extrapolate what you said, Greg, you inferred that if this $114,346.50 was not forgiven by city council, the college will close.
Well, I think if that's what came across, I didn't mean it to. I believe Bethany College is going to succeed, but my point is, if it didn't, then the impact, just from that one measurable right there, would be much greater because the context of the discussion was the cost impact and, you know, the impact on the other people, other utility customers picking up the cost.
Additional questions?
Would it,
Discussion?
I think I'd asked before, and I'm not sure if this is out of place, given that we're here as council, but has anyone actually got a number for what they're behind, or what their debt is to their endowment, or what the big picture number is? How much money somebody would have to come up with to just make all these problems disappear, whatever you want to come up with?
I can't speak for them, and Corey, I don't know if wants to speak at all, you know, in this area. I think it's, you know, it's more than just the money in the endowment. It's you know, you run a business, you know, it's like you have to change philosophy, you have to change direction that you're going, and, you know, it's leadership and all the other things that are in there. So I think that what I'm hearing in my discussions with people, that's the process they're working through with their board and others to make those actions or those correcting changes, you know, through the leadership of previous members of the college community and current and future ones as they search for the board or search for the president. Corey, I don't know if you want to say anything or not.
Well, it's no secret that every small college in Kansas and beyond is undergoing challenging times. These entities are very difficult to maintain, the demographics in our country today, and in these communities that host colleges, they're all looking at the same thing. I'm sure maybe not at debt forgiveness, but they've got to be a good partner with the school, or else they won't survive. And it takes an alumni base, it takes good management, it takes a good community, among other things, to make these things work. And this is a serious contribution to the college, but it's a serious time for the college. And I hate to say too much.
I understand that, that's why I wasn't sure.
Well, I know several people, and nobody's ever given me a number, or even had a rumor of a number.
Well, I think they're happening. I think they've had a plan for how much they're gonna raise in the next few years per year, and they have a goal. You know, I think I've heard of some of those things as presentations.
How
So,
much they want to raise does not answer
no, I'm
that
not
question.
saying that, but there are some numbers that have been given.
There will be a combination of a goal of added donations to the college, along with budgetary and financial restructuring as well.
There's still pain to come, potentially.
I think this has also given us all a real wake up. And as Corey alluded to, there's a lot of small colleges and small communities that are really struggling. We know a few that have changed, that have closed. And, you know, hopefully, and I think things are going well in the fundraising, but there's a lot more to it that Bethany is struggling with right now. And meaningful curriculum, and how do we recruit students, and how much do you pay, and all of those kinds of things. But I think from the community standpoint that we're representing here right now, it is a great shot in the arm for Bethany College to say our community values us, and they know how important we are to them. And they're going to work extra hard, I know they are, to say, you know, thank you very much.
I think we've had some good discussion, you know, in study sessions prior to, and I don't think anybody's taking lightly that $114,000 to forgive is something to take lightly. And it's just important that we show some support to Bethany, and we know how important they are to this community. And this was one of the things that we came up with, that we thought we could do that. And so while it's not easy to do, I think it's something we need to do.
I find it interesting that we chose this option to go forward with, when we had some other ones that were pretty much unanimous
approval compared to this one.
Well, the opportunity will be there for you and all of council members to voice your opinion on if you felt there was other options, you know, a 1-year deferment, 2-year deferment, or no deferment, is that what you're referencing?
Yes.
And so, the motion was made here tonight to defer the entire amount, and second,
There's a difference between the first.
forgive, thank you, forgive the entire amount in that, and so at the appropriate time that we're called the question and we have the vote, the opportunity will be there for all council members to determine what they feel is best going forward for the city and for the college.
I would call a question.
You mean if this is
Help me
turned
out, Bill, on a call of the question.
Call the question is no further discussion.
That's what I thought. Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Kelly? Yes.
Betty? Yes. Blaine?
Yes.
Corey?
For the same reasons I mentioned previously, I will abstain.
Okay. David?
No.
Emil?
No.
Becky?
Yes.
4-2, motion carried. Bill?
No, does not carry. It takes the vote of the mayor to make a majority.
Thank you, and I vote yes.
Will you say that again, Bill?
When you have if you don't have a majority of the entire council that is sitting, in other words, if you don't have 5 votes
Oh, yeah.
in favor of the motion, then the mayor can vote to,
Okay,
as the 5th vote.
thank you.
So the third leg of the package that we looked at doing was the Sunstrom Conference Center use. I think it was a great suggestion, and we felt again another way for us to support Bethany in this manner. This would be to waive the facility rental fee for the college for 2 days of usage at the conference center. I think you can read here the date and time that they're choosing. Again, it's just the rental fee that would be waived. Any other food, beverage, gratuity costs, special provisions would be invoiced at standard rates at the time of the event. So this was a recommendation, again, coming out of the study session. What is your desire?
I'll make a motion, we approve waiving the facility rental fee for 2 days for Bethany College for the usage of the Sunstrom Conference Center.
It's 2 times, isn't
It's 2 days total.
it? 2 days total.
For 2 days.
That's a motion, and
Second.
moved and seconded for 2 days. Waiver of the fee, rental fee. Any further discussion?
I wonder, even though this total amount is less than what we had just talked about, though, I wonder if we also have offered the facility for other nonprofits in our community that are also struggling financially. For them to get their word out or do fundraisers or whatever events, because we're not stipulating that it has to be a fundraiser or anything, right? It's just an open
Yes.
use sort of thing.
To answer your question, no, we have not.
Additional discussion?
Well, the other thing is, again, we're trying to support that by this motion,
Correct.
not just open it to anyone.
Correct. While the fee is waived, that does not mean that we will not experience revenue in the form of food and beverage. I'm assuming, potentially.
Staff and catering fees are still paid for by the.
Yes, in other words, that's not part of this motion, it's just
The
the
rental. Only facility rental fee would be waived. Bethany College would be responsible for any food, beverage, gratuity costs, or special provisions would all be billed or invoiced at the facility stated rate at the time of the event.
And it may well prove to be a wonderful opportunity for the Sunstrom to be showcased to people that might not otherwise have had an opportunity to see it or be in it or experience an event at the Sunstrom. So there's
I think
probably
every
residual
event over
benefit
there
there.
experience that way, I mean, that's for sure, so.
Could they provide their own catering through Sodexo?
No, they could not.
Okay.
Our policies don't allow it. Doesn't mean that Dexo couldn't cater it, but they would be using us, and we would be contracting with Sodexo.
Additional discussion?
I think it's, for Bethany, I think it is another show of support. That we're trying to be as creative as we possibly can here. And we're kind of giving them the best thing we've got.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a great gesture.
I would say we're giving them definitely the best of what we got, because we've even thrown some kind of risky ones out there.
Again, I think it's a three-legged stool of
That's right.
support that it's going to mean a lot to them and their fundraising ability to go out and show how much the community does support what they do and how much we respect them within the community. So I'm going to ask for a roll call on this. Jerry?
Becky?
Yes?
Emil?
Yes.
David?
Yes?
Corey?
Once again, abstain.
Blaine?
Yes.
Betty? Yes. Kelly?
No.
Item does carry. Again, thank you all for your support for Bethany College at this time. It is appreciated. Greg, let's go on to the 2016 legislative policy that you and the rest of the council members that are going will be bringing to our legislative body, along with everybody else, I assume, is getting it otherwise.
2013 was the first year that we've adopted legislative policies for the city. This 2016 proposed policy is very similar to what was proposed in 2015. The most significant changes you will notice would be in item number 1, that while the bold heading remains the same, support of intergovernmental dialogue between all levels of government, that remains the same, and the restrictions on the ability for cities to lobby on behalf of their citizens. That last line was added that any reporting system should not increase the administrative burden on local governments. The driver behind this is that last year they put reporting requirements in place for associations, groups, etc., that local units of government could belong, that those associations, etc., that they belong to do a consolidated report on this is what we spend for lobbying on behalf of cities, counties, etc., within the state of Kansas. There's an effort this year to try to push that down to we report. Well, the challenge becomes with that in the associations that we belong to provide a much broader base of services than just lobbying. They provide education services, they provide information services, they provide technical services, and when we pay a membership fee of, let's say, $1,000, we have no way as a local unit of government to say $200 was for lobbying and $300. We would have to report the whole the $1,000 as lobbying expense, even though it wouldn't be, which would also grossly overstate what local units of government are truly spending on lobbying. So the request there is to keep that burden at the association level. All the associations that we have spoken with, that we are members of, while it is an added responsibility, are willing to do it on behalf of their memberships. Same as last year, support tourism economic development tool. I'm struggling tonight. And encouraging the state of Kansas to commit more resources to the promotion of tourism. There was item number 3. There was Senate Bill 85. Is that correct, Gary? On blighted providing housing to streamline that process. That bill remains active, and item number 3 is in support of that particular bill. The item number 4 changed. We were supported the retention of elections, of local elections to be kept in the spring. They changed local elections to where you have to the fall, but you have an option of odd or even numbered years. We've adopted a charter ordinance that would put our local election in odd numbered years. The reason being that way it wouldn't coincide with state and federal elections. And so what we're putting out there, because there will be an effort this year to make city elections partisan. So the support of nonpartisan elections. Last year, item number 5 is support local government budget setting, repeal of the imposition of the tax lid by the state of Kansas. Since 1992, cities and counties, and this number is updated from what went out in the policy to you on Friday. It's $2.048 billion in lost revenue from the state of Kansas. The tax lid was supposed to go into effect July 1 of 2018. The bill was introduced on the very first day of the legislative session, Senate Bill 316, that would change that tax lid to be effective July 1 of 2016. And you also heard that or read that in the governor's State of the State address. That's his effort.
Rick, can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Ballpark, looking for specific numbers, but of the $1.89 billion diverted, it says it includes the equipment exemption. How big of a chunk of that 1.89 is that the equipment, machinery equipment exemption? Is it a little slice or a big chunk of that?
It's more technical terms. It's a little, yeah. Percentage-wise, it's probably 12% or less. The majority of it is the demand transfers, which are local ad valorem tax reduction and city-county revenue sharing, which were put in place during property reclassification, and I can't remember the year that was done. Those were statutory, and they're still on the statutory requirement that those monies go to cities and counties, but they haven't since 2003.
Certain mid-1980s Pizza Hut bread pudding terms, that was more of a chip instead of a chunk.
Wow.
Do either, who's in this?
Yeah,
What committee submits this legislation then? Is that the revenue? What committee?
For the last one, number 5?
Yeah. No, yeah, for number 5.
Well, I think whatever committee they want to put it in. I'm not sure whether.
You don't know where it came out of, or?
No, it was introduced to the.
Legislation by the governor?
No, it was introduced by the Senate. It was originally introduced during the closing session last year on the floor during the budget discussion. It had no hearings, it never went through a committee, etc. And this bill was introduced by that same senator, Jake LaTurner from Pittsburgh. I'm not sure whether it's going to the taxation committee or whether it's going to the local government committee.
Thank you.
we could censure him.
Good luck. No. 6, as budget issues remain loom large for the state, as the revenue estimates continue to be higher than revenue collected. Number 6 is to support continued use of local alcohol tax fund to be distributed to the cities for parks and recreation. Continue to support the Capers framework that was adopted in 2012. support home rule authority, and a lot of these issues deal with the home rule and local control. And the last, which we keep in there just as a reminder, support funding the local ad valorem tax reduction and city-county revenue sharing funds.
You know, I'm surprised that they haven't attacked home rule yet. Or is it not?
Well, that's a constitutional amendment. That's part of the Kansas Constitution. And there's an effort to educate that the legislature this year that that particular constitutional amendment was voted by the citizens of Kansas to be part of the Constitution. It wasn't conferred upon the cities and counties in the state, well, actually the cities, by the legislature. It is part of they like to talk Constitution. This is part of the Constitution as enacted by the citizens of Kansas.
Additional questions of Greg? You did a fine job, Greg. Thank you for that overview of where that's at.
Move to approve.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Second. Been moved and seconded to approve the 2016 legislative policy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. Item I is a resolution under 0616.
It adopts the amended 457 deferred compensation program for the city. The reason for the amendment is to comply with IRS regulations. I'm sure you all read this with a fine-tooth comb. Really, you come
The
down.
question, did Bill read it? That's really the
I actually did.
Bill's not Bill, do you have any concerns?
No, I don't. I think it's the thing to do.
So with that, is there a motion for resolution 0616?
Approve resolution 0616.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Kelly?
Yes.
Betty? Yes. Wayne?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Emo?
Yes.
Becky? Yes. Thank you.
Motion carried. Executive session, there's none. Moving to others. I have one, and I know the students aren't here tonight, but thank you high school students that presented at last council meeting, and we're here tonight for our study session on Union Street and traffic control. Appreciate their interest in city government, local government, and that, and wish them well in their high school years, and hope they become state senators and representatives in the future. Senator, no. Anybody else, anything?
Motion to adjourn.
There's a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.